Welcome to the debate. We are diving into, a really crucial discussion today. It's something that shapes careers and, frankly, project success across the entire construction sector. We're talking about the professional validation of project managers. As the industry really grapples with this need to fundamentally improve project outcomes, boost efficiency, and get costs under control, professional certification has shifted. It's gone from being sort of an optional nice to have to, almost a necessity in many cases. So our central question today really zeroes in on the contrasting merits of two main certification philosophies. On one hand, you have the broad, globally recognized, and essentially process-agnostic project management professional, the PMP. Does it offer superior long-term career value and adaptability compared to, say, the highly specialized, practice-focused construction credentials? Things like those emphasizing lean construction. For instance, the LCI Certified Practitioner Construction. Now, my position is that the PMP's comprehensive management framework, which focuses on high-level governance and flexibility, provides really unparalleled value. It prepares individuals for capital program management, for leadership that, transcends specific site methodologies.
And I'm going to argue that the specialized lean credentials which mandate demonstrated practical capability in eliminating waste and which require proof of cultural transformation, these are far more directly correlated with achieving superior measurable operational outcomes, specifically where it counts most, right there on the construction site.
Okay, so to start, I think we have to acknowledge the PMP's established place. It really is the premier global management certification. We're talking about a credential held by over 1.5 million professionals worldwide. That number alone demonstrates a fundamental capability to lead projects in, virtually any industry: IT, finance, healthcare, and yes, absolutely construction too.
But isn't that generality, that very broadness, maybe the fundamental issue here? Sure, that huge number signifies recognition, I grant you that. But doesn't it inherently dilute the credential's depth and, more importantly, its specific relevance when you're faced with construction's really unique challenges? Things like site logistics, supply chain variability, the absolute imperative of craft labor productivity. These aren't generic problems.
Well, I want to challenge you on that claim about generality being a weakness. I'd argue the PMP's universal applicability is precisely why it provides such robust career value. Just look at the financial impact. PMP holders report median salaries, 33% higher than those without the certification. Now, this doesn't just signal generalized value. It signals readiness for senior management roles that demand integrating people. That's 42% of the exam focus, process, which is 50%, and critically the broader business environment, about 8%. This prepares managers for true capital program leadership. We're talking managing funding justifications, portfolio risk, final closeout, skills far beyond the day-to-day work structure on a single site. You could say it's the certification for the C-suite pipeline.
Okay, that salary metric is certainly persuasive if you're an individual looking for career progression, maybe even outside of construction. But we need to focus on what measurably drives better project performance within our industry. These traditional generalized project management approaches, which, let's be honest, often manifest as rigid, linear, sort of waterfall sequences in heavy construction. Those are precisely the problems that lean construction methodologies were specifically engineered to fix. And we have empirical evidence here. There are studies, for instance, comparing traditional PM versus lean methods on a real road project, I think it was in Cairo. The study showed measurable advantages for the lean construction approach in reducing both waste and overall construction time. So this isn't just abstract theory, it's an applied methodology focused entirely on improving construction site flow and productivity. And furthermore, credentials like the LCI CPC, they're achieved not just through a knowledge test, but crucially through a required capability assessment via a portfolio review. This is verification of, real-world lean experience. The exam content itself reflects this focus. Practices, the actual doing, account for a massive 66% of the content. And this targeted expertise, it's becoming a market signal. Project owners, the ones footing the bill who are desperately seeking operational efficiency and reliable delivery, they are increasingly demanding professionals who have verified lean design and construction experience. They actively seek out LCI-certified practitioners precisely because their practical experience is verified against rigorous national standards.
Okay, some strong points there. Before we continue this deeper dive into what seems like a governance versus execution dichotomy, just a quick reminder to our listeners, remember to subscribe to hear more deeply informed discussions like this one, exploring this world and the critical issues shaping it. All right, so let's tackle this perceived dichotomy head on. I'd argue that the PMP training provides those foundational governance concepts, things like integration management, scope, cost, risk management, that are universally necessary for any large infrastructure project, any road project, really, regardless of the specific methodology being applied on the ground. The PMP framework itself covers predictive, hybrid, and agile ways of working. It is inherently adaptive by design.
But does that adaptivity actually enforce real process change on site? My concern is that the general approach often defaults back to that comfortable linear sequence, the very thing that inevitably generates massive waste in the construction system. The real value, I think, of the specialized credentialing is that it forces managers to master the implementation of specific waste-eliminating tools. Take the last planner system, specifically the 5 connected conversations within it. Now, this system, which LCI CPC Proficiency verifies, focuses intensely on reliable promising and accountability among the actual teams doing the work. It's been shown to radically improve metrics like percent plan complete. And that system is fundamentally different from just generic scheduling because it focuses on people making reliable commitments to each other, not just tasks plotted on a Gantt chart. That's the kind of verified, specialized tool that translates directly into the improved site execution we see in studies like that Cairo Road Project example.
I'm not convinced the PMP excludes these tools. I think it's more accurate to say it frames them within a broader business and project context. You can absolutely use Kanban boards for visualization, for instance, or integrate iterative design cycles, which is an agile concept, relevant to the PMP framework during the planning phase of a construction project. The PMP prepares managers to understand when and how to apply these different philosophies based on project complexity, organizational maturity, risk tolerance, those sorts of things. It provides the high-level governance skills, that understanding of portfolio risk, funding justification, stakeholder management across the enterprise, skills necessary for capital program management, which is, let's face it, often a supervisory or executive skill set, distinct from the day-to-day work structuring on the site floor. A construction firm definitely needs both, I agree, but the PMP provides that essential framework for strategic, high-level management decision-making.
Okay, but that brings us directly to the rigor and relevance of the assessment itself, doesn't it? If the LCCPC requires both a knowledge assessment and this capability assessment, this portfolio review to prove real-world lean experience, then how can a PMP credential, which relies solely on passing a computer-based 180-question multiple-choice knowledge exam, how can that truly assure project owners of a candidate's practical ability to lead complex construction teams in actually optimizing operational processes? One tests theory, arguably. The other verifies application.
Right, that's a substantive challenge regarding applied capability, I see that. But I think it risks minimizing the rigor of the PMP assessment process itself. You have to remember, candidates must provide documented, verified proof of, 36 to 60 months of experience leading and directing projects before they're even allowed to sit for that exam. That process itself ensures a pretty deep baseline of leadership competence prior to certification. And furthermore, the multiple choice format, while maybe seeming less hands-on, is necessary because the PMP is testing the ability to synthesize knowledge across 10 different knowledge areas: integration, scope, risk, communications, procurement, and so on, and make immediate, complex, often high-stakes decisions based on that synthesized knowledge. A portfolio review, by its very nature, can usually only cover a fairly narrow range of highly optimized activities the candidate chooses to highlight. The PMP exam arguably proves the breadth of thinking necessary to manage, say, a $500 million capital program, where you're facing entirely new risks and challenges daily.
But simply logging the required time leading projects doesn't automatically mean the candidate applied optimized practices effectively during that time, does it? It just means they were, present and participating in a leadership role.
And this brings me back to the cultural aspect of Lean, which I think is critical. The specialized certifications like LCI CPC explicitly assess the ability to implement this culture. For the LCI CPC, candidates have to submit reference letters, and these letters must specifically address their experience with core Lean principles like respect for people and driving continuous improvement. This cultural focus, this ability to foster reliable commitments, and a mindset of continuous improvement, that is often what project success really hinges on.
Now, while the PMP certainly addresses people, it's 42% of the exam, as you noted, its structure doesn't mandate the same level of verified, practical, cultural implementation proof through something like a portfolio or specific reference checks on those behaviors. The verification of applied capability, particularly in fostering that productive culture, feels like the decisive differentiator that project owners are increasingly recognizing and valuing.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly then to the longevity and the commitment required to maintain these credentials, because that also speaks to their long-term value proposition, right? Both types of certifications demand ongoing professional maintenance, which is good. PMP holders, for example, must earn 60 professional development units, or PDUs, over a 3-year cycle. And these PDUs have to align with PMI's talent triangle, which covers technical project management, leadership, and strategic and business management. This structure forces continuous skill evolution. It ensures a professional is adapting to new management challenges, new philosophies, maybe integrating emerging AI tools or advanced hybrid methods as they become relevant.
And the Lean certifications largely follow suit there, demanding renewal. LCI CPC recertification requires 60 continuing education units, CEUs, every 3 years, and those also have to be spread across key domains, principles, people-related aspects, and practices. However, there's an interesting development, or maybe a statement of confidence, from the Associated General Contractors, the AGC, regarding their CM Lean credential. As of 2024, the AGC actually no longer requires renewal for the CM Lean once it's earned. They seem to be denoting it as a permanent validation of core competency in that specific area.
That non-renewal policy for the CM Lean, while perhaps convenient for the holder, couldn't that also be interpreted differently? Perhaps suggesting that the core methodology itself is viewed as somewhat static. The PMP's mandatory renewal cycle, tied to that evolving talent triangle, ensures the professional must remain agile and relevant across rapid shifts in the entire business and technological environment. If a significant new management philosophy emerges or new digital tools become standard, the PMP holder is effectively required to pivot their professional development units to learn and integrate it. That seems essential for long-term C-suite readiness, wouldn't you say?
Perhaps, or for a professional whose career is fundamentally dedicated to optimizing construction practices day in and day out, having that permanent foundational mark of competency in waste elimination and operational flow, as conferred by that permanent CM Lean status, might speak volumes about their reliable, established long-term expertise in that domain. It suggests they've proven the core competency necessary for effective site execution, validated for the rest of their career in that specific, critical area.
So when we wrap this up, I think my position remains that the PMP credential provides that undeniable global recognition, a well-documented path to higher compensation across diverse industries, and a flexible, truly comprehensive toolkit. It's essential for managers operating at that capital program or strategic level. Its inherent value really lies in its established, adaptable nature as a foundational management competency, required to lead large, complex portfolios of work effectively.
Yet for those professionals deeply rooted in optimizing the actual work phase, the sharp end of the construction industry, while the LCI CPC and the CM Lean offer a much more targeted, verified, and practical expertise, one that's fundamentally rooted in maximizing operational efficiency and driving down costs through proven waste elimination techniques. When project owners are specifically seeking demonstrated capability in achieving better site execution and reliable delivery, I maintain that the specialized certification provides a distinct, verifiable, project-specific advantage.
I think the material we've discussed today clearly presents compelling evidence for both perspectives. There's undeniable value in the generalized career-boosting power of the PMP, and also in the specific practice-verified rigor of the lean construction credentials. The optimal choice? Well, it likely hinges on the individual professional's specific career trajectory or the unique needs of a particular project or organization within the industry.
I agree. There are clearly multiple valid paths to demonstrating expertise in this complex and absolutely critical field. Each certification delivers significant value, perhaps just focused at different levels of the organizational structure or different stages of a career. It's not necessarily an either-or for the industry as a whole, but understanding the distinction is key.